It was the kind of scorching summer when the air felt thick enough to choke on, and the only refuge was the community pool, shimmering like a mirage at the heart of our small town. This pool wasn't just a place to cool off. It was a sanctuary where the rules of the real world didn't seem to apply, where echoes of laughter danced above the water's surface, tempting fate itself. As kids, we thrived on daredevil antics, each jump more audacious than the last, as if trying to escape the mundane confines of our everyday lives. I, in particular, was addicted to the thrill, the way my heart raced before a dive, the split second of silence before the water shattered around me. It was during one of these adrenaline-fueled summers that I decided to attempt the infamous ghost dive from the highest point of the old diving board, a feat whispered about but never witnessed. The day was unusually quiet, the sun a relentless force in a cloudless sky, and the pool's surface rippled eerily, as if unsettled. My friends, a mixture of awe and apprehension in their eyes, watched as I climbed the creaking ladder, each step a defiant stomp against the whispers of warning that seemed to hum through the air. At the top, the world seemed to pause, the laughter and splashes below fading into a distant murmur. The water looked darker from up here, depths unknown, hiding secrets beneath its surface. With a deep breath, I launched myself into the air, aiming for glory but finding terror instead. The moment my body hit the water, something was wrong. The cold enveloped me not like a welcome caress, but like the grip of something ancient, something that had been waiting. I couldn't move, couldn't scream, as I felt myself being pulled deeper, the pressure building until it was unbearable. Then, darkness. When I awoke, coughing and disoriented on the poolside, the world had changed. The doctors called it a juzia, but I knew it was a curse far more sinister. I had tasted the true essence of the pool, a forbidden knowledge that left my senses numbed, a constant reminder of the unseen depths that lurked beneath the surface of our everyday lives. As summer faded and whispers of the incident grew, I realized that my plunge had awakened something within the pool, a presence that had lain dormant, waiting for someone foolish enough to breach its domain. My life, once filled with the simple joys of flavors and friendship, was now shadowed by an unshakable chill, a sense of being watched, of being marked by an entity whose appetites were far darker than the waters I had dared to disturb. High school in Juniper, West Virginia, carried the typical hallmarks of adolescence, punctuated by the mundane and the occasional burst of excitement. Our school, an aging structure with ivy creeping up its brick facade, was the centerpiece of our small community. But it was the school's pool that held an unspoken allure, a place where the reflections of the water danced on the ceilings during late afternoons, casting moving shadows that seemed almost alive. The pool had always felt different to me, especially after the incident. It was as if I could sense the undercurrents of something more beneath its placid surface. That sense of unease grew into a tangible presence. The semester she appeared. It started subtly, with rumors of strange ripples in the water when no one was swimming, or the fleeting glimpse of a figure beneath the surface, disappearing before anyone could really see. As the weeks passed, the water began to change, acquiring an almost luminescent quality, beckoning students with an eerie glow. It wasn't just the water that changed, it was the students themselves. They became obsessed, spending every free moment by the poolside, their eyes glazed over as if entranced by something unseen. I watched as my classmates, once vibrant and full of life, turned distant and withdrawn, their laughter replaced by a silent, fervent worship of the depths. I alone seemed immune to the pool siren call, a fact I attributed to my accident years before. It was as if losing my sense of taste had shielded me, left me disconnected from the hypnotic influence that she wielded over the others. But with that immunity came isolation, a realization that I was an outsider in my own life, watching as something sinister unfolded around me. As autumn gave way to winter, the pool's grip on the school tightened. Whispered stories circulated of shadows moving beneath the ice when the pool froze over, of voices calling out from the depths, enticing those who listened to come closer to join her in the cold, dark waters below. I knew then that something malevolent had taken root in the heart of our school, a darkness that fed on the innocence and vitality of my peers. It was during one particularly chilling night, as frost etched patterns on the windows and the moon cast a silver light across the pool's frozen surface, that I saw her for the first time. A figure, ethereal and otherworldly, moving beneath the ice with a grace that belied the horror of her presence. My blood turned cold as our eyes met, a silent acknowledgement that the dance between predator and prey had begun. In that moment, I understood the true nature of the dread that had taken hold of Juniper High. She wasn't just a creature of myths or a figment of our collective imagination. She was real, a being whose intentions were as dark and unfathomable as the depths from which she emerged. And I, the only one untouched by her spell, was the only one who could stop her. The realization that I was the only one immune to her sinister influence was both a curse and a salvation. As the weeks turned into months, the high school's atmosphere grew thick with an inexplicable dread, a pall that hung over us all, yet seemed to touch everyone but me. The students, my friends, continued to be drawn to the pool with an almost religious fervor, their personalities fading away as if consumed by the murky waters that held their fascination. I found myself walking the halls of Juniper High like a ghost, unnoticed by those around me who were too caught up in their own obsession. The vibrant life of high school, filled with laughter, petty squabbles, and fleeting romances, had been replaced by a somber procession towards the pool, where students gathered in silence, their eyes empty, as if they were waiting for something or someone. Driven by a mix of fear and determination, I began to seek answers. The library, once a place of academic pursuit, became my sanctuary, a bastion against the creeping madness that had enveloped the school. It was there, among dusty tomes and ancient manuscripts, that I stumbled upon a possible explanation for the phenomenon gripping Juniper High. Legend spoke of entities, ancient and powerful, capable of ensnaring the minds of the weak, drawing strength from their devotion. As I pieced together the puzzle, the nature of her began to emerge. She was not merely a creature of the deep, but a siren of the darkest waters, an ancient being that had found her way into our world, hungry for the worship and life force of the young souls around me. Her influence spread through the water, a medium that connected her to the students, transforming them into unwitting acolytes of a growing dark congregation. It became clear that my accident, the moment that had stolen my sense of taste and left me adrift in a world of muted flavors, had inadvertently shielded me from her call. My isolation, once a source of pain, was now my armor against the enchantment that had claimed my peers. Armed with this knowledge, I knew that I had to act. The entity that lurked in the depths of the school pool was growing stronger with each passing day, fed by the devotion of the students. If left unchecked, her influence would spread beyond the confines of Juniper High, into the town, and perhaps even further. My resolve hardened. I began to plan. To confront her, to break her hold on the school, would require more than just courage. It would necessitate a confrontation with the unknown, a dive into the very heart of darkness that had claimed the pool. As the days grew shorter and the shadows longer, I prepared myself for what was to come, aware that I was about to step into a battle that might consume me completely. But the alternative, to watch as my friends and school were devoured by her darkness, was a fate I could not accept. The fight to reclaim Juniper High from the clutches of an ancient evil had begun, and I was at its center, a lone sentinel standing against the tide. The night I chose to confront her was one of those deep, pitch-black evenings where the moon seemed to hide away, as if fearful of what was about to unfold. The air was thick with a palpable tension, and even the usual chorus of nocturnal creatures was silent, as though the very earth itself was holding its breath. I approached the school with a mixture of dread and determination, my footsteps echoing unnervingly in the empty streets. The building loomed before me, its familiar contours now twisted into something sinister by the shadows. But it was the pool area that drew me inexorably forward, a black hole of fear and fascination at the heart of the darkness. As I entered the building, the silence was oppressive, the kind of quiet that rings in the ears and presses down on the chest. My flashlight beam seemed feeble against the encompassing darkness, a lone sentinel in the fight against an unseen foe. The closer I got to the pool, the colder the air became, a chill that seeped into my bones, a physical manifestation of her presence. Standing at the pool's edge, the water was perfectly still, a mirror reflecting the darkness above. But beneath that calm surface, I knew she lurked, waiting. The plan was simple in its design but fraught with unknowns. I had fashioned a containment vessel from the old texts, a way to trap her essence, using materials that were as ancient and mysterious as she was. It was a gambit, a hope that the wisdom of the past could combat a threat from beyond our understanding. With a deep breath, I began the incantation, the words strange and alien on my tongue. The air around me grew colder, the surface of the pool began to ripple, and a low hum filled the space, vibrating through my very being. Then she emerged, not as a creature of flesh and blood, but as a mass of shadows and light, a being of pure energy and malice. Her form was ever-changing, a whirl of darkness that seemed to absorb the light around her. Our battle was not one of physical might, but of wills. As I continued the incantation, she assaulted me with visions of despair and madness, tempting promises of power and threats of eternal torment. But I stood firm, anchored by the memories of my friends and the life we once shared, a life she had stolen. As the final words left my lips, the containment vessel glowed with a fierce light, and with a scream that echoed through the halls and into the depths of my soul, she was drawn into it, trapped by forces as ancient as she was. The aftermath was eerily silent, the water once again calm, as if nothing had happened. But as I looked around the deserted pool, the weight of what had transpired hung heavily in the air. I had succeeded, but at what cost? The school was safe, my friends slowly returning to themselves, but the darkness had touched me, changed me in ways I couldn't yet understand. As I left Juniper High that night, the containment vessel heavy in my hand, I knew my battle with her was not truly over. It had merely changed arenas, from the waters of the pool to the uncertain future that lay ahead. In the aftermath of that fateful night, a deceptive calm settled over Juniper High. The halls buzzed once again with the sounds of laughter and conversation, a stark contrast to the eerie silence that had once pervaded. My friends, once under her thrall, returned to their normal lives, blissfully unaware of how close they had come to the brink of darkness. Yet, beneath the surface of this newfound peace, a current of unease ran deep within me. The containment vessel, now hidden away, was a constant reminder of the darkness I had faced, and the fragile barrier that now stood between it and our world. The weeks turned to months, and the incident at the pool became nothing more than a whispered legend among the students, a ghost story to chill the blood and quicken the pulse. But for me, it was a haunting reality, a chapter of my life that refused to close. I found myself drawn to the ocean, the final resting place of the vessel and her. Standing at the water's edge, I would gaze into the depths, wondering if I had truly ended the threat or merely postponed it. Then, the reports began to surface. Strange occurrences in the Chesapeake Bay, tales of fishermen disappearing without a trace, of boats found adrift with no one aboard, of shadows moving beneath the waves, too large and too fast to be any known creature of the deep. Each story sent a shiver down my spine, a whisper in my mind that her influence had not been contained but spread, mutating into something new, something uncontrollable. As the fear grew, so did my sense of isolation. Who could I turn to? Who would believe the fantastic tale of ancient entities and battles fought in the shadows? I was alone, a sentinel standing watch over a threat that lurked just out of sight, waiting for the right moment to emerge once again. In my search for answers, I delved deeper into the ancient texts, seeking a way to strengthen the containment, to seal her away forever. But with each page turned, I grew more convinced that what I had unleashed was only the beginning. The texts spoke of cycles, of epochs, where entities such as her would rise, seeking dominion over the minds and souls of the living. As I stand now, looking over the dark waters of the Chesapeake Bay, I can't shake the feeling of impending doom, the sense that the battle I fought was merely a skirmish in a much larger war. The air tastes of salt and fear, and in the distance I can almost hear her voice, a siren's call from the depths, promising revenge, promising to return. I had hoped to protect my town, my friends, from the darkness I had encountered. Instead, I fear I may have opened the door to something far more terrifying. The future is a shadowed path, and I walk it with a heavy heart, ever vigilant, ever fearful of what might rise from the depths of the Chesapeake Bay. My tale is a warning, a beacon for those who might face the darkness in their own lives. Heed it well, for we are not alone in this world, and the waters that sustain us may also harbor our deepest fears.